okay, here's a tree, and a tree has a whole bunch of branches, right?
Yeah.
And if you're doing the same thing you were doing 7 years ago, you're doing the wrong thing, right?
That's
Like you're supposed to be changing. And
yes.
we as artists, and especially when you have some success, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because you go, "This is working." So you try to hold on to the thing that's working. But what you don't realize, while this is working, the world is changing. So if you don't make sure this kind of changes with it, you'll get stuck with this is working, and now your group of people that you reach get smaller and smaller and smaller.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Music Business. I'm your host, Ari Herstand, author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the book. Third edition is out now, hardcover, ebook, audiobook, however you consume books, you can find the book. Today, my guest is Claude Brooks. He is the CEO of C to the B Productions. Claude is most notably known for the show Hip Hop Harry. It was a children's show back in the day, in kind of the early 2000s. It was a live action hip hop show. I call it kind of Barney, but hip hop. It was a live action, but it kind of had the life size Hip Hop Harry figure. And actually a song from Hip Hop Harry, Go, 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 that ended every episode, went viral in 2020, got over 1 billion streams. People are doing the Go, Go, Go dance. You probably are familiar with the song. Maybe you didn't know it was from Hip Hop Harry, but you recognize the song and the dance and all of that. That evolved into what he launched a couple years ago in 2022 with Snoop Dogg, which is Doggyland. And Doggyland is a YouTube kids show. And every episode's a couple minutes long, and it's animated, and the songs are very positive, very fun. Snoop is part of most of those songs. And actually last year, 2023, they had the #1 kids song with Affirmations, which is the song. So any of you out there that are kind of into kids music or just are fascinated with this, I'm not a parent and I'm not really familiar with the kids music market, but it's gigantic. And it was fun diving into this. And I learned a lot from Claude, and we kind of wrapped a bit towards the end. Just kind of about growing in the business. And he's more on kind of the film and TV side, but he produces the music and these shows. But he did talk about how he kind of licensed the shows, and we talked about ownership, and we talked about just building and pivoting and growing and turning. And so, I encourage you, even if you're not into kids music, I think you'll really enjoy this episode, and stick around to the end because he drops a lot of gems, and he's been around for a minute, and he was just a pleasure to talk to. He has executive produced and created over 500 episodes of television across all genres, and we get into that. And it was just a lot of fun kind of digging into this realm. You can find Doggyland or Hip Hop Harry on YouTube. A lot of those episodes. You can actually find all the songs across all the DSPs. And I do want to mention, they distribute through DistroKid. DistroKid is a partner of Ari's Take, and we talk a bit about that, why they chose DistroKid and how they got the music out and all of that. You can find C to the B Productions. That's Claude's production company. It's just ctotheb.com. You can find all of us at Ari's Take on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, Twitter, Threads, all of that stuff. And visit aristake.com, get on the email list. That's where you're going to find the most up-to-date information about the new music business. We're going to send out emails about new episodes and just important stuff that you want to know about the new music business. So go to aristake.com, get on the email list. You can find me at Ari Herstand on Instagram if you want to get in touch with me. But right now, if you could just pause this, hit subscribe, hit follow, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. All that really helps. Cool. All right, let's kick into the show. Claude Brooks, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ari.
I love this shirt that you're wearing. And for those of you that are just listening and can't see it, I encourage you to hop over to YouTube and check this out, because these are the Doggyland characters. I thought I recognized some of my friends. So let's start there. Tell me about Doggyland.
Ari, this morning, as I was getting ready to come into work, I was like, let me rock the Doggyland shirt. I haven't met Ari before, but it'll make his questions a little bit easier. And I was right. The first question,
right into it.
Here it is. So Doggyland is one of the shows that we produce. We have two kids shows. One's called Hip Hop Harry, and the other one's Doggyland. We get into the other one a little bit later. But what Doggyland is a children's show that Snoop Dogg is the co-creator, right? And Snoop is this character that you're seeing right here. He's the mentor to these pups, and the actual show is about pushing social emotional growth, through song, and a lot of our songs are like really kind of like dope songs that are sing along and catchy and the whole nine. And obviously having Snoop Dogg as part of this really has helped propel it, in a big way. And it's part of what his mantra, is about. So some of those, our biggest song is called Affirmations, and it's just like what it sounds like. It's a song about affirmations, and it was the #1 kids song in 2023. So that's so that's pretty cool. And what's interesting about this, Ari, is though our target group is like kids, from toddlers all the way up to like 10, 12-year-olds, but it's that group. A lot of our songs are you've heard the term co-viewing before. Co-viewing is when a mom and a kid can watch something together.
I'm not a parent, so I'm out of touch with a lot of these terms that you're probably going to throw out there. But so inform me on co-viewing.
Okay. Yeah. So that's co-viewing, right? So where two people can watch the same show and go, oh. So SpongeBob is a great example.
Get something out of there. Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh, the parents are going to take something a little bit fresh and something new, and the kids are also going to get enjoyment out of it, and all around. Yeah, it's not painful for the parents to sit through a kid's show.
There you go. And somebody even like it more, and somebody like it even more than the kids, and vice versa.
Sure. Yeah.
So our show is co-viewing / quad viewing, which is almost like the uncles and the aunties and the cousins. Because now with our show, with the music being such the thing that pushes it. You'll see the characters dancing, right? To the like chorus beat. And when they're dancing along, they're doing like TikTok moves. So now you got the teenagers doing the TikTok moves, and you have the 4-year-olds going, I want to be like my older brothers. And like, so it's turned into this whole quad viewing thing. And when we do live shows, man, it's pretty cool, like to see the whole fam bam and people come alone and like they're in their 20s and they just want to hang out.
You do live. Tell me about the live shows that you're doing.
So
how do you do that? Because these are animated characters, I know.
Oh, so the live show. So if you check out on any of our socials, like it's Doggyland _kids, like Instagram and TikTok and stuff, you'll see we have live action characters. So these characters in real life.
Yeah.
In real life, and so they are able to. We have a full blown live show. We do all types of. Stuff like that.
Like you go on tour?
Also, so we're working on putting together tour stuff. Right now, there's been a bunch of like, one-offs and here and there, that kind of stuff. And that's what's going to be happening throughout the summer. So, just check out the.
So tell me about because I watched a bunch of the Doggyland videos, like the affirmations is just great, and Snoop was one of the first voices that you hear. Now I was checking out the songwriting credits. So he's not part of the songwriting team on these, right? He's just kind of the performer on some of them.
Yeah, he's more performer than songwriter, but he's a songwriter. And that as soon as it's time for him to do spit his words, do the chorus and stuff. He becomes songwriter because it's like you're a musician, right? Right, so there's nothing that he doesn't get on that he doesn't flip a little bit or a lot. Certain songs he has actually penned in the sense of we'll come up with like a great idea to get. We have this song that we just did. With him, him and I were together, and we came up with the harmony. And then we brought in Ali Alimi, who writes a lot of the songs as well, and we really fleshed it out. We got a spin on a Happy Birthday that I think is gonna rival like Stevie Wonder and 50 Cent.
Nice.
Bird. Like I think it's gonna be super duper iconic. So that's an example of like,
Oh,
you know,
I can't wait. I
yeah,
mean, you did your own spin on the wheels on the bus, which is fun, and the little dance moves in the bus by the characters. That was great. And it's right, like you mentioned TikTok moves, because I was wondering if that had kind of played into it at all, knowing that the show kind of came out. When did it come? 2020, right? Is when the show premiered, or
2 years ago. So 20.
22.
Yeah,
Okay.
2015.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, well, let's step back a little bit, because I'm curious, like, how did this show come to be? What inspired it? How did, I mean, specifically kind of the music come together, and then also paired with the animation, and all of it. Yeah. Break it down a
How
little
did it
bit.
come to? Good questions, man. You've done this before, once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way this all came together is, so I have I'll give you a little backstory on myself too. That I
Yeah.
think that kind of help you. So outside of kids shows, I produce adult shows as well, like
Mm-hmm.
sitcoms and stuff. And I go all the way back to one of the first shows that I produced and co-created was a show called Lyricist Lounge, which
Okay.
I'm not sure before your time or not, but what was
Mm-hmm.
on MTV. And
Sure.
it was a sketch comedy show where all of the sketches were done lyrically. So it was like, this is back when like Mos Def and the Brat, and, all those types of folks, including Snoop, where,
Yeah.
everybody was killing it. And so they would come on just like Saturday Night Live, and their sketches would be done in song.
Yeah.
And that's when Snoop and I met. And that's about 20 years ago. And
Cool.
and then I've had a bunch of other shows like Dance 360, Second Time Around, Under One Roof, a bunch. So I had a feel over at Paramount for years and years. And a lot of the shows I do, there's a heavy music component, and I'm a percussionist myself, but I'd always be really involved with theme songs and the music in the show and the scoring and the likes. And this other kids show that I created called Hip Hop Harry,
Right.
which was on Discovery Kids, and still has a life. Has been around for almost 20 years. This is what Hip Hop Harry looks like. So Hip Hop Harry is a live action character, except this is
right.
the stuffy of him.
Oh yeah.
So Hip Hop Harry, during the beginning of the pandemic, one of our songs, Go, 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 Who's Next, took on, this was super viral. Like within a month or so, there was 1 billion streams across all these platforms. We're all like,
Wow.
yo, what the hell is going on? And I was never like aware of like, like what does that mean, right? And it forced luckily like, on the team, there's folks who are younger than me, know a lot more about the social media. It was like, yo, we got to start going live on weekends and all things.
Yeah.
So we went live with the live action character, and we get influencers on and people and just talk to them and dance together and just talk about life stuff. And one of the weeks, Snoop Dogg was like, he pops up, he's like, he gets on, and afterwards he called me. He was like, Claude, man, that was so much fun. And everybody's around me just loves like hip hop. I want to have my own kids show and have the same impact, that you've had with Hip Hop Harry over these years and the whole nine. And that's so Doggyland. We sat down. I was like, talk more about it. And he has an artist named October London. If you're not up on him, you should be. So October London is the #1 like R&B singer in the past year, right? And he's killing it. And he was managing October. He was like, man, I would love for October to be part of the process and develop and everything. And so October plays the voice of this character, of Woofy.
Okay.
He's this guy, and writes a lot of the songs and is part of the whole process. So when you hear our songs, it's hip hop influence, it's R&B influence, it's pop influence, it's all these kind of like great, influences. But it came out of Dog just going, look, I want to have something that's really going to help change kids' lives, and he's now a grandfather, I believe of 4.
Nice.
And so he's tapped in a major way. Right. It couldn't
That's
be
great. It's funny to see kind of a lot of these artists who, we grew up with and that, got known for, let's just say not kids music. And then, they start to become parents and, or grandparents. And we see a lot of the, former, rock stars that are kind of going into the kids music realm. And now the hip hop stars going into the kids music realm. And it's cool to see the kind of the evolution and is like your influences change and your life changes. And it's just like following that muse which is always so important. And if, kids are a big part of your life and a big influence, that's the new music. And you want to make music that, they can get involved with and have fun with too. So that it's very natural. It feels that Snoop would kind of go into this direction, even though I think for a lot of us that just kind of know him from, the legacy that he's left, it might seem a little bit, different than what we would normally expect. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's so versatile, and over the years, I mean, he's just become a fixture of just like all of our households.
All right, you hitting it on the head. He's done what most people are. He inspires a lot of people. You know what I mean? And having him as a partner to just realize like, okay, here's a tree, and a tree has a whole bunch of branches, right?
Yeah.
And if you're doing the same thing you were doing 7 years ago, you're doing the wrong thing, right? Like you're supposed to be changing. And we as artists, and especially when you have some success, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because you go, is this working? So you try to hold on to the thing that's working. But what you don't realize, while this is working, the world is changing. So if you don't make sure this kind of changes with it, you'll get stuck with this is working, and now your group of people that you reach get smaller and smaller and smaller. And he has a show with Martha Stewart. He got a kids brand. He has wine. He has clothing. He has.
Of course.
Well, one of the things that Snoop has, which is really amazing that I've also tapped into a little bit with him, is he has a sports league that he's been doing for over a decade for inner city youth. Right? It's a children's sports league, and part of that too is also a special needs league that he's been just taking care of everything that you got to do with this thing. And over these 10 to 15 years, or however long it's been around, over 1,000 of those kids have gone to college, and over 50 of them have made it into the NFL.
Incredible. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
That,
what an impact, right?
Yeah.
And,
so he's been holding the kids and trying to do things, but he's not like a guy who's like, I'm doing it and I want the world to know and blah, blah, blah. No,
that's great. I want to go back to, you said, Hip Hop Harry, that came out 20 years ago, that was on, traditional broadcast television, and now, had a moment, I guess, in 2020 where Go, Go, Go went viral. Do you know how that song went viral, or what that, like, what the impetus was for that?
Yeah, we got a little bit of insight into it. So there's a couple of folks who were like, the trendsetters, right? Out there who were picked up the dance and started doing a dance with it. So while one person was a dancer who was Jake, who was actually from our show, he grew up, right?
Okay.
He's on the show. And then another guy who was a rapper whose name is escaping me right now. He flipped it up too. It's from New York. He's on the come up. He flipped the song some. So these two things start happening literally within days of each other, while parents and kids started just doing the dance with their parents.
Was this a TikTok thing, like a trend?
It became TikTok. It became Instagram, and then it became like just celebrity just doing this leg dance. Kind of. And before you know it, folks are in the NFL, score a touchdown, and like the big NFL stars doing it. So now that's so it's just popping up all over the world, all over the place, right? And then literally becomes worldwide. And then the Black Lives Matters movement happened. And during that, they adopted it and turned it into, because it was like, go, 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 who's next? Was the idea.
Oh, wow.
And so folks started going, go, 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 who's next? Like, who's going to be next for change? And then showing people like, this person is doing something for change. And they adopted it that way. So it became like a party anthem of like, go, 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 who's next? Watch me do it. And then when I say who's next, I'm going to watch you do it. And then I'm going to who's going to be next for change. And then though it was a Black Lives Matter thing, it was all races kind of like involved with this thing. So it had a social thing and blah, blah, blah. And folks started reaching out all over the place. So we ended up doing remixes, and that led to, the momentum of that just led to all these great opportunities, including we are in the process right now of doing a Def Jam.
Oh, wow.
Def Jam signed Hip Hop. We've been independent with Hip Hop Harry all this time, which we wanted to be. And then Def Jam reaches out and they're like, look, Hip Hop Harry is part of hip hop in such a big way that we don't want it to just be kids. Can we do it in a
Cool.
So we got an album that we're doing, and wait till you see, we're doing some remakes from their catalog. Like
Sick.
it looks like we may be remaking. Have you heard of Slick Rick, children's story?
No.
Okay, well you will. You'll.
Okay, cool. I can't wait.
There's a guy. There's a group called Onyx, and they have a song called Slam, which was like a big redoing songs like that. We might be redoing some LL Cool J's, some Kanye stuff, like all types of cool stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's fun. So I'm curious the timing. So the song's going viral. Was it already released? Like, had you already released it to streaming services and YouTube and everything, and it got picked up, or did you have this viral moment? You're like, oh man, we got to get this song out there, because I noticed the YouTube video that was distributed. It says provided by DistroKid, so I know you use DistroKid for it. I think it was up end of 2020, I believe. And so was that like, happening afterwards?
So what ended up happening is there's a couple versions of this Go 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 song, right?
Okay.
And the one that we had already out in streaming. So the Go 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 song would come at the end of every Hip Hop Harry episode.
Got it.
And it would be a dance circle where all the kids would go out and do a dance circle. So that version was already out, so to speak, right?
Sure.
And then, but we had this other more updated version that we thought we put out. But I mean, it was out, but we didn't put it out. You know what I mean? Like we didn't put it out through distro. I mean, it was just living.
Somebody else had put it.
It was living in video, like living in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when that one got out, we were like, okay, cool. Let's make sure it's out the proper way. Luckily, we did tap in as quickly as we did with it. But how about that? Like, man, you just
right.
You just
it's so wild how. I mean, we've seen that, the resurgence of so many, we could call them legacy songs, from just that like TikTok has kind of given a new life to a new moment. And it makes sense that a kid's song and a kid's show would kind of have a resurgence, especially over the pandemic, which a lot of these kids, were watching the show back in the day, are now of age where they're the influencers. And so, like you said, they inspired that movement, which just took off. So that's very cool.
Yeah. You hit on that. And then meeting kids who started watching the show, and it means like, it's like watching old episodes as well as new content that meant something to them. You're like, whoa, what's going on?
So how does that? Break down the business of it a little bit for me, because I'm curious how, if this show initially you said was Discovery Kids back in the day, but you own the rights to the music, is that right?
Yeah. So it was so like I said, I've been producing for a little bit, and I was lucky to have some good success over the years. And from time to time, I would literally bet on myself, so to speak, right? Where generally, if you're making a TV show, you go out and you pitch it to a network, or you have a studio behind you, or however you, right? And with that, they're now the bank, so to speak, right?
Right.
And you're making it for them, and you have some form of ownership, but they own it. So it's almost like having a situation with a label, right? They own your masters.
Mm-hmm.
So with Hip Hop Harry, when I had this idea of like, you know what, I want to make a show with this bear that's going to teach kids using rhyming as a tool. Well, at the time when I wanted to make this show, I was already doing some other shows with Disney and Nickelodeon. And I knew that going in to pitch them a show and say, hey, look, there's going to be this bear, it's going to rap. And think 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, it's Tupac, it's LL, and rap was all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that's going to be, kids are going to want to learn from that, right? So I was like, instead of pitching that to them, let me go ahead, use my own money and make a pilot myself.
Wow.
So I literally used almost all my own money, right?
Sure, yeah.
And bet on myself and went and made this. And then afterwards, Discovery Kids found out that I did this and met with them, and I was able to do what's called a licensing deal, which is just like it sounds. So instead of them buying it, they're paying me to rent it, licensing, right? So they have it for a certain amount of time, and they'll put their push behind it and everything. And by them doing that, I was able to, own and control the whole IP. So
Incredible.
Own the videos, own all the music, and so Hip Hop Harry and group were able to, control it. So it's a unique situation.
Sure.
But it's also not unique in that now more than ever, folks can kind of try to do similar things in this platforms where you could just try to launch your own thing on YouTube or on
Right.
TikTok or Instagram. It's such a crowded market; it's a little bit harder, but that is it.
Well, tell me about. I mean, that's great, and in music we have licensing deals with labels, which are becoming more common. They weren't very common, previously. Further back than 5-10 years. I mean, licensing deals were virtually unheard of with the major label market. I didn't know that TV studios were doing that. That's very cool that you produce your own pilot and were able to license and then retain all the ownership. So when Doggyland started, was that made for you, like with the vision it would be a YouTube series, or like a YouTube Kids series?
So the idea of it and where we're headed with this is, Snoop, myself in October, when we created this thing, was like, look, we want to make sure that we put this out on a platform that any family can get to, right? Because even though, like Netflix and Disney and some of the ones where it's $19.99 a month or $9.99, or there's a lot of folks who have to make a big decision on, am I going to get that or we're going to eat? You know what I mean? And though not everybody, but most people do have this thing, right? And so getting it on YouTube was definitely the first, plan of attack, as well as we're on a couple of other platforms. Kadoodle is also like our number, 2 platform.
What's Kadoodle? I saw that. I'm not familiar with Kadoodle.
So
Again,
Kadoodle, not having the kids, right?
I'm out of that realm.
Yeah. So what Kadoodle is think of it as an app. Like, so YouTube also has another app called YouTube Kids. And it's just like YouTube minus any of the ads in it, and it only, whatever you put down as your age group, it's only gonna filter you that type of stuff. So it's a safer place to be able to give your child, to watch. Kadoodle's very similar in that it's only kids related stuff. Their mantra is a safe place for streaming, right? Because if you let your kid, watch something on regular YouTube and dad just happened to be watching, whatever, it might show up in the feed or, you know what I mean? And now you got a whole thing. So Kadoodle, I believe, is the number 2 kids platform. If any folks listening, something to definitely sign up for. It's very similar to YouTube. And we're one of their top shows. We're also on something called Play Kids. We're on a few other things. And what looks like the future is some of the other places that we've heard of, like the Netflixes and the Peacocks and the blah, blah, blahs of all these different ones of the world. What's great with having a show like ours is we can make a version for them, right? It could be Doggyland Adventures for such and such. Doggyland, goes to space, or Doggyland. Cool. Right, you can make different versions, which is what you see with like a lot of the other brands out there.
Yeah. How does it work with YouTube? Is it just, the business model? These are very highly produced shows. Granted, there's songs, and each episode, I guess, is like a song, and it's a couple minutes long, something like that, and it goes straight to YouTube. Is the business model, you're just kind of monetizing those videos like you earn based on the ads that run on YouTube, or is there a separate behind the scenes licensing deal with the YouTube Kids? Are they hands-on at all, or how does this all work?
So no, it's kind of like if you were to take a video. You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so
this is on it right now.
Oh,
some people are watching us on YouTube.
This is it. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
This when I was looking you up, I did see that, but I thought that this was also living on another platform outside of YouTube. But
it lives everywhere. Yeah. So we got it on the podcast networks, but also YouTube and all of that. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, so similar to that in terms of you monetize straight from YouTube, and after you get to a certain level over at YouTube, it's like having you do have folks who you work with at YouTube that can kind of help just guide you through some of the things that may be coming up down the road, and it's a very much so a two-way relationship, because we're leaning into them. And when you're in the kids space specifically, like a lot of the kids creators have some form of a point person. Same thing though on the adult side, right? You find some of their popular channels, they have they have like a point person that they can, talk to and deal with, to find out some of the trends that may be happening, or be able to lean into. But you're monetizing it pretty much the same way, and same thing with music. You're monetizing it across all, all platforms. The great part of a kid show, and at least the way we're building it, is that we're like, hey, look, we're looking to build the brand, and things don't necessarily have to happen overnight. We're very lucky that great things have happened. But then there's also some of the side stuff like this with kids brands. Once you do get things rolling, there's the merchandise, there's the live aspect, there's all those things, and they're very slow builds, man. Everything they're all slow builds until one day, boom, it seems like you're an overnight sensation. But
I
don't tell you've been working on being an overnight sensation, and then you have those great people are like, look how lucky you are, and you're like, dude.
Right. Yeah. Don't mind the last few decades that you put into it. But that's a nice reminder for everybody, that has been putting in the work behind the scenes and just kind of building this whole time. So,
I don't not to cut you off there, but Ari, one of the things that a gem that I don't even know who taught me this, but I know I was taught this, is the one thing that does come is activity breeds activity. So if you keep going after it, and I'm sure some of your folks who watch and listen to this, there's days where you're like, why am I doing this? And the thing that you're going after, it's not going to be the thing that pays off. It's going to be the other thing that's right next to it that you weren't even looking at. You're going to be like, wow. But that happened because you kept going after your thing. And someone fed me this.
Amen.
Or, and whether
no, it's so important.
Maybe I should say nobody fed me this, and this is just my own advice.
I'll take it. It's a Claude Brooks C2B Productions original. You can have it. I love that because I think so many artists that are listening to this, and it can resonate, and I can too. It's just like it's that little graphic of the guy climbing up the staircase, and he's already climbed like 30 stairs, and there's 2 more, and he's on the second to last stair, but he can't see the final stair, and he doesn't know it, and he's just like, I'm gonna give up, and he's just like, no, don't, you just have 2 more steps you have to climb. But then maybe once you get to the top, it's actually the adjacent staircase that you just have to leap on over to. That is the one that's really going to be the escalator to the stars.
That's it. That's great.
Mine. I just came up with that.
Hey, that's your Ari, you own that one, but that's a great analogy. And it's so hard as artists, but just folks who are going after their dreams to kind of remember that, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. It really is. It's like, the other part that's really hard is to just take the moments of gratitude for the people say little things, but I think it's the big things that are happening along the way. It's still super hard for me to just go, wow, okay, let me take that. Because I'm so busy on like the next.
Right. Well, I mean, let's talk about that, because that is really good perspective. How do you make sure, and how have you made sure throughout the course of your career, just taking a step back or taking a pause to acknowledge the impact that you're having or the success that you already have had without zooming past it to just look to see what is next?
So what has helped me, I don't want to say slow down, but be more in the present, has been my part of my family. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, and Milena, who's been part of this process. One of the big song Affirmation came out of her as we were developing Doggyland, and she knows it. She knows about it. She sings on all the choruses and has her own character now too.
Fun.
But she's the one who said, "Daddy, you should do a song about affirmations, because Mommy and I do affirmations on the way to school. What do you think about that idea?" And I was like, "That's a great idea,"
Yeah.
And so when that song then came out, started doing well and everything, for her to be able to hear herself, I was like, "Oh, she helps," helps kind of like put it in perspective, as well as the people who work with me as part of my team. They're they're all various ages, but for the most part, everybody's way younger than me too, which is great, because that's that's how you keep your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
But when moments happen and they're like, whoa! So we just recently won an NAACP award for Doggyland, And then the Mother's Choice Award just came through, and so we all had to go to the awards and to it's the feeling of like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to the awards. We're gonna, of like, whoa, this is like it's a big deal, and it feels good. When folks around you that are part of it coming up, so to speak, have their moments and to check in and go, oh man, I'm happy. I'm more happy for you than I'm happy for me. Those are the great moments for me now. And I'm like, oh, this is it,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, that's really great to hear. And that's so cool that your daughter has had such an impact with this show and with the big song Affirmations. And so what was kind of when the show, just stepping back a little bit, how did this show really take off? I mean, of course you have Snoop Dogg attached to it, but like you're starting a YouTube channel from zero. Everything starts from zero. I'm sure, just 2 years ago, there's like a little concerns like, is this going to work? Is this going to catch? I mean, there's a lot of famous people that attach themselves to a lot of projects that don't go anywhere. And you said, Affirmations was the #1 kids song last year. Like what was the spark initially?
So the spark was knowing that we kind of have done this already, right? With Hip Hop Harry and we have content that comes out every week on that channel. A lot of it's refurbished and some new stuff and all of that. It's funny you said, how do we know it was going to work? There was never a time that I thought that this wasn't going to work. There wasn't. I think if anything, it was just a question of, and it still is, to what degree is this going to work? Right.
That's great.
And in the kids world, and I think this speaks to most YouTube channels, is you have to go, okay, how often are you going to put stuff out, and are you going to be consistent with it? How often do you put out content?
I mean, we put it out about once a week, but this is long form, so it's a full episode. Yeah. It's an hour episode once a week. Occasionally we'll do little shortened clips or clips from the episodes, but you're putting out a lot of content. I mean, how often are you putting out videos?
So similar to you, like you're doing something once a week, so you have to be on schedule. And folks probably don't realize to what degree, especially with this long form thing, right? You got to think. You guys reached out a couple of months ago, right? So you have to be thinking. You're thinking down the road. You got to be thinking way down the road, so to speak. Similar to us, in that it's the difference between making content now and like 15, 20 years ago for kids is you're making new content every week almost. You know what I mean? So you make content, and then you can do a compilation of some sort, and having and being consistent is really it. And I think that's where a lot of channels may have difficulties, because you gotta kind of keep it up, right? And keep it, kind of keep it going. And that is the new way of consuming content. Folks are expecting the newness. You get to remix it, so to speak, but you gotta be into the new game and be producing way down the road.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I was looking at your Doggyland channel, and it says you have 163 videos, and that's over the span of, I guess, 2 years or so.
Yeah, over 2 years. So, and a lot. And what is so we were just doing the 2-minute, kind of videos every week.
Yep.
And then YouTube introduced YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
Are you on YouTube Shorts?
Sure. Those are the 60-second kind of vertical videos. Yeah.
To kind of rival TikTok and
Instagram Reels. Yeah.
And Instagram Reels. And when they led with that, when they started doing that in the kids world, we were one of the first to start making content with that, which is kind of cool, because now what we call live action characters, instead of just taking straight cut downs of the long form, we're out in the real world, and doing some cool stuff with our music. One of our songs, this veggie song, that we did as a short. We put a little clip of it back. It's just like it sounds, about eating vegetables, and it's a fun song. We wake up one morning and this thing starts like racking up 500,000 views a day. down 1 million views a day. And we're just like, where is this thing coming from, right?
Right.
And as we dug a little bit deeper, we realized, and this lasted for almost like a month. Like I think it's at almost like 50 million views now.
Wow.
We realized that a lot of these views was coming from parts of Asia, like the Philippines, and that,
Wow.
and so, wow, who knew? How this thing can kind of like take off, so to speak. So of that
Yeah.
160, a lot of it is doing these short videos too.
Sure. I mean, I saw on the Doggyland, even the Instagram page, you have like, the 4-year-old star with bars, that video's got like 7 million views. And it's just like, some of your reels are really kind of taken off there. And so, I mean, it's like any artist really, which is just you kind of diversify and you find the outlets that work best and you have to kind of create the content customized for that platform. Whereas like, a YouTube video on traditional YouTube is going to be different than a short, which is going to be different from a TikTok or a reel. There's all different, specifications and the etiquette to follow and all of that. Do you have somebody internally? I mean, what is the team that is part of the C2B Productions that does all this?
Yeah, no, you hit on that because there's no way you'd be watching nothing right now if I was the one who had to. I was had to put stuff up, but I will tell you a little bit about just what infrastructure feels like, and it's just what you're thinking,
Yeah.
Well, before getting into that, though the universe offers all these things. Okay, there's the long form, there's a short, there's a this, there's a that, right? You can spread yourself so thin that you become the master of nothing. Or go, okay, you know what? I'm only going to be a channel that only puts out. So there's channels now that only put out shorts in the kid space, which is shocking to us. So they're right, which is like, who would have thought that? And then there's channels who only really focus on just doing live videos where, they put their video live and that runs. And then there's channels who do this, the long forms, kind of like what we have. Or it's a combination of two. So I'm just saying that to say, like, though you may be, whoever's listening to this, like, you're going, okay, I need to learn how to master it all. It's okay to just stick with a lane, see how that plays itself out, and just sprinkle on a little bit as opposed to trying to do all of the stuff and nothing is making a real, kind of impact. So we have.
No, that's a really good, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's a great point, and that mastering one, and then a lot of people kind of find the one that they really resonate with, and they can master that, and then they kind of go find and figure out how to repurpose that content that they got so good at for the other platforms. But it's really about, where do your fans exist? And of course, the kids market really lives on YouTube. Not so, at least the kids market that you're targeting, that young kids market, not so much on Instagram, not so much on TikTok. Their parents are on Instagram and TikTok. And so to kind of target them and find them, that's a fun place to be. But I thought it was smart, starting your channel on YouTube primarily because the parents can there's YouTube Kids and the parents can just turn it over there. And it's really just like any artist of any genre, knowing where your audience is and going there first to find that audience. And
knowing how they consume it too, right?
Exactly.
And with YouTube specifically, they kind of, if you learn how to read the analytics behind it and everything, you'll go, oh, okay, this percentage actually watches it on TV because that's a big deal now. Like, we're watching on TV and know, okay, they're going to go to a playlist. They want to be able to walk away. So if they see something that says 60 minutes, they're more likely to want to press that button so that they can, as opposed to, oh, here was a 2-minute video and now hopefully it's part of a playlist and it's going to go on to the next, that kind of thing. And so
I saw your hip hop. Oh, go ahead.
Right.
I was just going to say, I saw you have some of your Hip Hop Harry videos that are 3 hours long on YouTube, which is like a blessing for parents, I'm sure.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, let's see what's what. And so for back to your question in terms of a team, I call my main folks I'm Batman, they're my Robins. So I got a few Robins who who can really handle portions of it, right? So Eli, who really oversees the production stuff of everything, he's dealing with a bunch of other folks under him from the animations to the this to the music, and Chris, who handles the social stuff, because social covers a bunch of stuff, like to have really great, content. And David, who handles a bunch of social and everybody, there's a lot of moving, a lot of,
That's great.
a lot of moving parts, and trying to have some form of going, okay, well, this is how things are supposed to work, like a funnel, so to speak. At least if you have some structure, when things aren't working out that well, it does allow you to figure out, well, what's wrong,
Has the growth been all organic, or have you done much marketing with this?
Well, most of it's organic. Most of it's organic, and then a little bit of marketing here and there. Being able to, which I will call marketing and organic, is we post the posting that we do, and Snoop posts on his page. Snoop got over 80 million followers, so we see some real spikes. The other thing that's very much so organic / it's marketing infused is we do collabs, right? So we've done collabs with other channels, like Gracie's Corner is a very big, big channel.
Cool.
The little girl who you saw. We do a lot of stuff with influencers, and then they go out and so one thing, we're in the mix talks with a couple of really big channels right now that you'll be like, oh wow, who would have thought of them doing? Have you ever heard of Leona Lewis, the singer?
Of course.
So Leona Lewis, we did a couple of tracks with her, which was fun. And she had a baby about 1.5 years ago, and she reached out going, my baby only relaxes when she hears Doggyland. I'd love to do something with you guys. And so that's how that came about. We have some cool some great celebrity collabs too, which that means a lot. It's how you open up the audience.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's right. It's those artists that, from the 90s and early 2000s that are now having kids or even grandkids that are would be very open to that. Leona Lewis, the R&B star that she is, and just kind of branching out into these other realms and genres. That's so great. So you have the album potentially that is, you said Def Jam is kind of the next frontier. What is
that's on the Hip Hop Harry side.
That's on the Hip Hop Harry. Gotcha. Yeah. And then for the show, you said that Doggyland might be branching out, going to space or going to other networks or something like that. Like, what is? Yeah, tell me about kind of the future right now and what C2B Productions is working on.
Yeah, so the future for Doggyland is we're in beginning, conversations with a couple of the streamers / networks of doing something that may be specific for them, cool. in the Doggyland universe. And those things take a little bit of time to get done, right? Sure. But once it happens, and boom, you're like off and running. So I'm not at a point where I can be like, hey, can share any definitive news just yet, but know that's in the wheelhouse, as well as very, very, very. It's just like in the recesses of our mind is like, what is a Doggyland movie look like? What's kind of interesting about that is, though the chatter has begun, is like there can be a lot of different ways to do a Doggyland movie. You could do it traditional way, like with a studio, or we could just go off and make our own movie.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. You've proven you can do that. And like you said at the start, you bet on yourself and you maintain the ownership. And really you have to just invest a bit more up front, but the rewards in the back end, they can make it worthwhile.
Yeah, that's it. That's it in a big way. That's the move. So your music is on DistroKid?
It's so I have used a bunch of distributors. I have distributed some music through DistroKid. I've tested a lot of the distributors. I manage some artists as well, and so I've used. Honestly, what's funny is right when DistroKid launched in 2013, I want to say, I was doing my first distributor comparison article for my blog, and some friends were saying like, oh, you should check this one, because I was doing CD Baby versus TuneCore versus whatever else was, not many out there at the time, and a friend told me, oh, you should check out DistroKid. They're new and I just use them. They're great. I was like, okay. I go to the website and there's a phone number there for DistroKid, and I was like, oh, let me just call it, see what's going on. And I called it, and someone was like, hello. I was like, is this DistroKid? He's like, oh yeah, this is Philip. And it was the founder, Philip Kaplan's personal cell phone, because he had just launched and he didn't really, And so like I would argue I was the first to write about DistroKid because they hadn't even really launched yet. And this was 10 years ago. And then of course, they blew up and they're the biggest independent distributor right now.
Are they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They distribute more music than any other distributor in the world. They argue they distribute 30 to 40% of all music that is released. Period.
No way. Are you serious? I didn't know that, man. I love working with them. Mike there. I think he's who connected us.
Mike. Yeah. Mike Fink. Great people and. Yeah, good ethos. And Philip, he's a musician too, he's a drummer, and he started building it all from his phone. Like we'd be out, he'd just be like building the stuff. He's a programmer and everything like that.
You've seen Philip literally in action from way back.
Oh yeah. Like early on, I mean, I went to his wedding, like we became friends, and I got to know him, and like, we would be hanging out, and he's like, oh, I got to fix something real quick. And he'd pull out his phone and he'd like program really quick on it. And this is early on before he had a team. It was an operation of one. And now, they have offices all over the world and they're gigantic. But how did you decide to work with them?
So when we were doing Hip Hop Harry, because I was a CD Baby was, kind of the thing we're doing. And like I was telling you, we had the newer version was like, what needs to happen kind of quickly. One of the parents at my daughter's like nursery school at the time, was he was in the independent music business and ended up talking about this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to figure out what to do. And I've been with CD. He goes, you got to check out DistroKid because it really makes things way easier and what you're about. And that's how
cool.
So I got turned on that way. And I was like, whoa. And he happened to have a contact there too, which helped a lot too. Because I was able to, you could figure this thing out without a contact for sure for DistroKid,
That's the thing. I mean, it's always helpful to have a point person where if something goes wrong, you can talk to them. And so, yeah, that's nice that you kind of have that hookup. And but with the volume of music that you put out and release, I mean, it makes sense, to have something like that where it's just kind of that annual fee and just unlimited releases. And that's kind of, they pushed the industry forward in that realm because over the last 10 years, that's become the etiquette now of just like we're in a singles economy and just pushing music out frequently, just like you learned, for YouTube, you need to put out music or put out videos regularly and stay on schedule. The streaming services reward that as well. Spotify has flat out said, like, put out regular music. It's not like drop an album every 3 years anymore. It's just like, drop a single a month now. But yeah.
And that's, so it's definitely different consumption. So this works well for that, as well as it works well for the people that you do the music with. To take the accounting out of the business is big, right? So you can't. Yeah,
payment splitting. I mean, fortunately, a lot of the distributors are doing payment splitting. I think DistroKid was the first to do payment splitting, where they will just pay the collaborators directly. I'm not going to take all the credit for that, but I will say that I did tell Philip that he needed to do payment splitting because I didn't want to be accounting to my collaborators anymore. And I wrote him this long email one time and I was just like, yo, this is what payment splitting could be and could look like. And he told me that he used it as a blueprint to build his payment splitting.
You're one of the founding members of DistroKid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, without credit or without payment, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'll just minus those two little things.
Minus those. Wait. No, we've been good buds, and they've been we've been good collaborators ever since. And
what made you think of the payment splitting thing? Like, what was the thing that influenced you?
I mean, it's something that is just like, when you have people to pay, like a producer or other artists or musicians that you're collaborating with or something like that, especially in the independent realm, and especially when you're dealing with regular payments and like smaller payments. If you get a check for $27, what are you going to cut your producer like $12 or $8 every month? It's just like, it's such a headache. And indie artists just, you can't expect indie artists to keep those kinds of books and account to everybody. And like, I had collaborators
expect any artist to do that, right?
Right. No, that's true. That's true. And it's just like, I had collaborators, I had producers and stuff. And it was just like, man, and my stuff, it's making money, but it's not making like millions where it's like, oh, I'll just cut you $100,000 check this month. Easy. No, it's just like, $100 here, $37
what it costs to put in this damn envelope is almost what I'm sending you, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So, it was, it's something that, it was very needed, and I'm thankful that a lot of the distributors are now doing that, because it's just like, it just takes the grunt work out of a lot of it in the accounting and all
right.
that.
So it really is. I think DistroKid helped move it forward. You're telling me something that I didn't know, which was that they are the biggest. They're the biggest independent distributor or biggest distributor, period.
Well, so what they will say is that they distribute the most volume of music. They don't make the most revenue. That's Universal Music Group. If you're talking like the label, like Universal Music Group, they control about 25% of the recorded music revenue market. So just UMG
does this include this includes publishing and all that type of stuff? When you say that for Universal?
Yes. So when you look at kind of the global recorded music revenue, and last year in 2023, it was about $35 billion globally. If you look at like Media's numbers, or IFPI came out with their own records and said it was around 30 billion or something like that. But of that, 25% UMG has, but the independent market, which includes kind of the DIYers like DistroKid and everything, the indies control about 36% of the market. So, it's a substantial amount.
That is big.
And that's revenue.
Yeah.
And so, and then the rest, so it's like 25% to UMG, you got 36% to the indies, and then the rest are split up amongst the other majors. But, DistroKid is distributing, they say, about 30 to 40,000 songs every single day. Day.
You know what? All right, so this makes sense why they can charge so little, so to speak.
Right.
Because it's about the amount of subscribers that they have. They gotta have millions upon millions.
Yeah, they have millions. Yeah, over 2 million. 2 million artists are subscribers. People that upload music, and it's because they say there's about 100,000 songs distributed to the DSPs every day. Spotify, Apple Music, all of that, and DistroKid does 30 to 40% of all of it. So it's
that's crazy.
It's pretty wild, and
that's pretty
in just volume. Yeah.
All right, how do you know so much about this?
Hey man, I got a book on it. I've been studying this now. So this is my lane. Yeah.
That's great.
Dude,
man.
well,
I always love getting some new. Not to have turned this into I'm interviewing you, but man, I love new information, especially in the world of what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, I love everything that you're doing, and this is we've just passed 150 episodes on the podcast, and I can confidently say you're the first person that I've had on to talk about the kids music market and to do anything with kids music, which is very cool because it's not something obviously that I'm very familiar with. But I know a lot of my listeners are parents, and so they're definitely going to, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are very familiar with Doggyland and Hip Hop Harry and everything you've done. So thank you for coming on. And Claude, I have one final question that I ask everyone who comes on the show, and that is, what does it mean to you to make it in the new music business?
Wow, that's great. Hey, guess what? I just found out I made it today when you said that.
Yeah. What does it mean to make it? What does making it mean?
So to me, making it feels like, and surviving is the wrong word. You know why it is? Because surviving implies like, I'm doing what I can do to just kind of like hold on, right? And so I don't want to necessarily use that. I want to use that word in the positive spin. If there's a positive spin of it, right? And living in it, like I'm to be able to be living in it and help pushing it forward forward, which is what it feels like in terms of making it, so to speak. And feels one feels great to be able to be part of it. Two, to be part of a team that every day we're like just pushing something a little bit forward is been great. And to see that some of the things that you do is inspiring other folks, and some of the inspiration also becomes the wind behind your sails, right? So to speak. Ari, you might just like, I've never done anything in the kids business. One, I don't have kids. There's no reason for me to kind of like think about it. I can't talk to it. But maybe some light bulbs went off, and you might just hit me and shoot me a text or an email, be like, "Hey, Claude, now because we talked about this, I wasn't even thinking about this, but do you know about such and such? Because they're also in the kid business, and maybe there's something there." And like that's really making it when you get other people to go and help push your sale along.
Love it.
So yeah, so that's that, man. So that part of it is, I feel like that's what makes me feel like we're making it in this game.
Love it. Claude Brooks, thank you so much. That was great.
Good stuff, Ari.
Today's episode was edited by Ari Davids with music by Grassroots District and produced by all the great people at Ari's Take.